exposed to a lot of theories. Some can be classical, and some can be neoclassical, and some can become what we call as a modern economy or behavioral economics. There's some there are very recent developments on economy, but mainly on the purpose of this on the basic economy, we always we simplify our discussion towards the classical and also the Keynesian economy. Nevertheless, they do take into account that there are some other economic streams that is in progress. Means that there's some recent economic stream. So let's start with this macro economy. I think by now all of the students are clear on this macro and micro. So between this macro and micro is very clear. Is either it's my or whether it is ma. And if any of you not clear about this yet, then don't worry. Try to get some analogy to actually identify or differentiate between this micro and macro. Basically, macro would be at the national level. Micro would be at this, that would be at individual. Individual mean we as the household, and at the firm level or at the industry level. Let me just give you an example between this micro and macro. For example, if a group of fresh graduates who are unemployed within a certain city, that is micro, because it's centered on the city, it's centered on the province. But if we are talking about the unemployment rate among the graduates, the whole country, for example, in Indonesia or in Malaysia, that one we already considered that as macro. So basically the key point for this aggregate, the key point for the macro that will be on aggregate. Okay, so that will be aggregate income, aggregate consumptions, aggregate investment, and also overall general level of price. All right, so I hope we are clear on that. So let's move to this, the concept between open and closed economy. And this open and closed economy, there is no such that the concepts are overlapping. It's clear. If it's open, then it is open. Then if it's closed, then it is closed. Even though you may come across a case, or you may come across some figures that say that, for example, let me give you an example. Like we have Brazil, for example. Brazil is the country that has the least traded deals. The least traded deal means Brazil is the country that has the least traded with other countries. So Brazil is considered as not to say considered, Brazil is said as to be closed economy. Why Brazil is considered is said as closed economy? Because Brazil has the lowest trade deals in the world. But that doesn't mean Brazil is closed economy, but that is based on the numbers of trade values that Brazil is having with other countries. So when it comes to this closed and open, it's clear. There is no such overlapping. So that's why the theory says that this is closed. Closed means seriously there is no international trade at all. So that will be closed. If you come across that in 1990s or 1980s, China used to be closed economy. But of course, you know that China is no longer open, no longer closed. So when we say China used to be closed economy, it means that China used or did not open the economy, means that no trade deal with others. For if you come across that says that North Korea that has no trade deal with, but this one is said, but in actual fact, no, North Korea is not closed economy, because North Korea is also having trade deals with other countries such as Russia and China. So theoretically, closed economy is defined as a country, as an economy that do not interact with other economies in the world. Not at all. So Brazil cannot be considered a closed economy, even though Brazil has the lowest trade deal. Okay, so theoretically, closed economy, the country has no trade deal at all. I have no connection with you at all. Brazil has no connection with all parts of the world. Whereas open economy, they interact freely. Then if you come across the term like globalization, then this globalization is closely linked with this open economy. The more open the economy is, the more fragile, the more vulnerable the economy is. But that one will be another parts of discussion. I think we maintain our discussion or our sharing on the theoretical aspect and some recent figure. All right. I mentioned just now one of the learning unit that we would like to achieve today is to show or to illustrate the circular flow of income between the closed and also open economy. As economic students, you must remember the basic economic model. Basic economic model. When we say basic economic model, it may be still valid or maybe not valid. But still, as economic student, you must know the basic. So the basic economic models, there will be one, a circular flow of income, the basic economic model, circular flow of income, and the second one is production possibility frontier. That will be the two basic, and one of it is circular flow. Okay, let's have a look on this closed economy circular flow. I think you easily can observe that we only have two parties. We only have two agents from here. One is household, and another one is business or firm or company, enterprise. That will be about similar. It's referring to the firm. It's referring to the producer. And for the household, who act like a buyer, who are the buyers. So we have only two, and this interaction in the economy that only take place between the household and the firm. No government involved, no international trade involved. There is no export, there is no import, there is no such. It's only the interaction between the household and the firm. You produce, then I will purchase from you. I will supply you labor, then you hire me to work with your company, then I'll give you salaries. So that is closed economy. If you ask, is there any example of closed economy at present, then I think I cannot answer that question. As far as I'm concerned, there is no closed economy exists at present. But unless if you manage to find one, and you can share with me and with us, with all of us. So this is a basic economic model. So I want you to have a look on the players or the agents in the economy. The agents remains the same. So we have household, and we have firm. Okay, but now we're going to illustrate from this closed economy to this open economy, and I want you to try to observe. There's elements of import-export involved. Let's have a look. Yes, we have export here, and we have import here. So in that case, import-export already we are goods and services, foreign goods and services, or what we call export and import market. Okay. Apart from that, I want you to have a look, try to observe. There's a involvement of government here. Okay, so we have another party or another agent involved in the open economy, which is government. And if you notice, there's item on the money involved here, another money involved, and also tax. Tax will be from government. Saving. So where do we save the money? Definitely when we save the money, it involves the intermediary here. The intermediary in this case would be bank. Okay, so you see this model is no longer closed. This model is is what is considered as open because there's an involvement of foreign goods and services market, which is export and import. I will explain later. Under this foreign or international market, it doesn't only involve export and import. It's also involve the foreign capital, foreign capitals inflows and also outflow. If we can go back to this basic, then we know that we can actually add one more agent here, which is foreign market. And we can add another agent here, which is government, and another agent here, which is banking and finance. So that is the, of course, there are many more. Do bear in mind, these are not the only agent in the economy. We have many more. I think you come across when you read some, or you come across a news on this capital market, on the money market, foreign exchange market. Those are also involved, but for the purpose of this discussion, for the purpose of this knowledge sharing, let's simplify it. As long as you know that under this open economy, we have the role of government and we have role of foreign market. All right. So under this foreign market, we have two types. One of it is what we call as a goods and services market. Goods and services market involve export and import. So under foreign market, we have one, good and services market, and the second one will involve capital. Okay, we go to the first one under this foreign. This foreign market or international market, you name it, as long as you know that there is interaction between this country, for in this case, if it's Indonesia with other country, or if it's Malaysia with other country. As long as it involves other country, as long as it involves foreign country, then we know that the transaction, we know that the flow will goes either by goods and services or by capital. So we go to the first one, goods and services. I think this one is quite clear cut, very straightforward on the export and on the import. This one is very straightforward. I think all of the students are quite familiar with export and also import. And with these two components, then we have our net export. So with that, I hope you still can recall the GDP equations under the expenditure approach, that we have GDP equal to C, stands for consumption, equals to I, stands for investment, equals to G, stands for government expenditure, and equals to NX. And NX stands for net export. I hope you still can recall also the equation. When C increase, GDP increase. When I increase, GDP increase. When G increase, GDP increase. When NX increase, so all have positive link except import. Okay, so any components of GDP, they enter the model, or enter the equation as positive. In case you come across this term, this is called injection in economy. This one is considered as injection in economy. Any components that enter the model with positive sign, and that one is considered as injection in economy. And any components that enter as negative sign, that one is called leakage in economy. That considered as leakage in economy. So we have injection that takes positive sign, and we have leakage that takes negative sign. For example, export is injection because there's a money flow into the country, and import is leakage. Okay, let's have a look on this export and import of Indonesia. This is quite recent figure, extracted from the from Mr. Google, of course. So if you have a look on the largest trading partner for Indonesia, this would be China. China is the largest trading partner, followed by Japan. Now this is for Indonesia, India, Singapore. That's why I was looking for US. So it's China number 1, followed by the US. Then the third one is Japan. This pattern is actually quite similar with Malaysia. Malaysia also have the largest trading partner is China, followed by Singapore. Then after that, US. So it's about the same with Indonesia. And in fact, most of the developing countries in the Southeast Asian countries, our similar patterns of trade partner, China, either China, US, or Japan. So you see that most of these Asian countries, in particular Malaysia and also Indonesia, we depend much on the market in China and in the US as well as in Japan. But the largest would be China for export. So Indonesian export 14% of the merchandise, export merchandise to China. So let's have a look on the country that Indonesia mainly import from. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is quite reciprocate. China is the largest export from Indonesia. From Indonesia to China. China is the largest export partner, and China is also the largest import partner for Malaysia, for Indonesia. So in the case, it means that Indonesia import 22% of the import merchandise from China, followed by Singapore, quite surprisingly, because the pattern does not replicate, does not appear the same with export. Let's have a look on the export. Okay, so China is the largest country that Indonesia export to, and also the largest country that Indonesia import from. The second one, in this case, is US, but this figure is quite different than Malaysia, because in Malaysia, US is the second largest trading partner. So you see that Indonesia import less from the US, even though US export more than Indonesia. This is very good indicator that it shows that Indonesia import more from China and import less from US. And the second country that Indonesia highest import from is Singapore. Okay, interesting. Okay, and you see when we see Malaysia here, it means that Malaysia and Indonesia, not only that, if you notice, if you come across, most of the Asian countries, they have very high interdependence with each other. What does it mean? It means that Indonesia export to Malaysia, Malaysia import from Indonesia. This is what we call interdependence. And based on the World Bank, and based on the World Bank projection, in 2030, the ASEAN 5, the largest Asian member, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, would contribute 30% of the world economy. So you see, not sure whether it can be realized or not, but it shows that ASEAN has a lot to offer, has a lot of potential to offer to the world economy. All right. Okay. So ASEAN, we depends on each other. We depends on interdependence. This is very good. This provide an avenue in case you would like to venture more. Terima kasih, sir. In case you would like to research more, that these countries or these Asian countries, if they can strengthen their cooperation, their collaboration, they can actually become one of the competitive economy in comparison with others. So since I treat this as a undergraduate class, then in that case, as usual, let's have a look on this to try to see whether do we understand on the concept. If it's in my class, then I will stop anyone, I will ask anyone to answer this, but because this is the knowledge sharing with the UMY student as well as UNIMAS, let me just do this together with you. But the most important thing that I want you to, when we do this together, I want you to try to understand on the concept of the first concept that we have explained earlier on the NX. NX stands for next export. Okay, from the figure, from the diagram just now, I have shown you that China is the largest trading partner for Indonesia. So the first one, China experienced recession, means that there is a slowdown. This one by assumptions. Of course, we know that China is not having recession. We just assume. Say that China is having recession. The economy is slowed down. Incomes is falling, and unemployment also increasing. So the question is, what will happen to Indonesian net export if China experience a recession? So the answer, since China is the largest exporters for Indonesia, so since the income is falling and also the economy is not doing very good, so China will reduce export from Indonesia. So once export is reduced, then you know that NX will decline. NX is next export, right? Because NX is equal to X minus M. So with this, what happens to Indonesian economy? So that will also affects Indonesian economy. Based on what? Based on our GDP equation. So you must always remember that equation. As economic student, you don't have to memorize, but once you understand, then you can remember. Okay. Okay. The second one, the second context given, Indonesian consumer decide to be priority and buy more products. I think this one is very straightforward, right? Once the consumer become patriotic and we buy less from other countries, then of course our import will decline. And you know that when our import decline, then our NX also will be, our NX will increase because relatively our X will be higher. In that case, GDP will also increase. So, so buy more Indonesian goods, buy more local goods. But then sometimes consumer has quite a dilemma, because sometimes our domestic goods are more expensive than the foreign goods. So we ended up buying foreign goods. So hopefully our suppliers or our producers become more competitive so that they can offer us a cheaper price. Let's have a look on the third context. Okay. Price of China good rise faster. In that case, let me simplify. It means that price of goods and services in China increase. So in that case, when price of China good increase, what happened to your import? Then of course you will import less. Why you import less? Because the price of the goods and services in China is more expensive. So you import less. So when we import less, imports from China decrease, then our NX must increase. So when our NX increase, then of course our GDP will also increase. So that's basically the concepts of this NX. The first types of this foreign market, which is on the goods and services. This would be the factors that affects the next export. I'm going to do this very fast so that we can move to the second market, which is flow of foreign capital, inflow and outflow of foreign capital. So this would be the variables or factors that will affect our NX. So the first one, consumer preferences. Is either you prefer to eat the local noodle. For Indonesian case, Indomie. Indomie is very famous brand. It's also famous in Malaysia. And this is quite famous also, ramen from Korea. And this ramen is not cheap. This one very expensive, but due to the influence of this K-pop and so on, so many resort to eat ramen and not the local noodle. So if you prefer more foreign good, then of course import will increase. Second, okay, price of good at home and abroad. If I think to explain this, it goes to the third example that we have done just now. So if price in China increase, then of course we will import less. So this one is quite straightforward. The third factor, GDP per capita. GDP per capita, we have under this GDP, we have GDP, then we have GDP growth. GDP growth is the indicator of the economic growth, and we have GDP per capita. And the GDP per capita is to tell us whether we are wealthy or whether we are not. This one is considered as the wealth indicator, or this is the indicator of our purchasing power. The country that has the largest or the highest purchasing power in the world is Switzerland. Means that our purchasing power or our income is very high. The second country in the world is Qatar, right? Qatar. That would be the country that has the highest purchasing power in the world. So let's have a look in comparison to Asian country. So we have Singapore. You see, Singapore has left us like Singapore is quite very advanced with this purchasing power. As compared to Malaysia as well as Indonesia. So it shows, but of course you must take into account because this GDP per capita is divided by the population, and Indonesia that has the largest population as compared to others. As for Malaysia, we have around 30 million, but Indonesia has around almost, I think, 280 million. So that explains why Indonesia has the relatively lower than Malaysia because of the population. However, in terms of the GDP, absolute GDP or absolute GDP, Indonesia has the largest economy as compared to the countries. It's just that when we divide by population, Singapore is the highest because Singapore has the lowest population among the Asian country. Okay, we proceed with this exchange rate. This exchange rate is very straightforward also. If it's what we call as if RM, what we call RM is the currency for Malaysia, and rupiah the currency for Indonesia. If the rupiah is quite strong, then perhaps we tend to buy the foreign goods because we can get more rupiah. And also the same case for Malaysia. So it depends on the exchange rate. For example, if you get like 100,000 rupiah for say that I think US dollar is $6 US dollar. But if you get less, for instance, 50,000, then of course you will buy more import goods. So that is the exchange rate. And the last one on the factors that affects the NX is of course government policy. Not in the context of Asian, but if you come across issue on the US and China trade war, that is example of the government policy, policy by the US, and then how does China respond? This US and China trade war has caused a loss or effects of the world economy, almost 300 billion US dollar. It's a lot. The game between the US and the China, especially started during the President Trump on the US and the China trade war. We hope that under this Biden, this trade war will improve. It means that the tariff rate imposed to each other not reaching very high. For instance, due to this trade war, the tariff rate imposed to each other can reach about 20%. This is very high, 20%. And it involves around 60% of the merchandise between China and the US. That is in the global context. But if you have a look on the Asian context, let's have a look on the highest tariff. Tariff means that the tax that imposed to the foreign goods. So these government policies do affect the import and export. For example, if you have a look on Malaysia imposed quite very high imports. But how do we explain that? Even though government imposed very high tax, but the import still increasing. By right, theoretically, in theory, says that if you impose high tax, then people would buy less imported good, but that is theoretically, because empirically we know that it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't always happen that way. But government policy does affect the next aspect. So next, let's have a look on the NX still, on the trade surplus and deficit. I think when you see the word deficit, surplus, and balance rate, you can easily tell that trade deficit is when import more than export, And trade surplus when we have a more export than the import, and the balance rate is X equal to M, import. If you ask me what is the optimal, I think Dr. Dimas had shared with us on this optimal level, which is quite interesting, that we can actually measure and we can actually propose, give inputs to the policymaker. Very interesting. Okay, on the parts of the optimal. So if you ask me what is the optimal level that can we actually balance, then of course you must know that it's not possible, because our discussion is mainly on the theory and within this scope. So if you would like to venture more or research more, then that one definitely can be your research project, or can be even topics for your master, sarjana, and also your PhD, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look on the Indonesian export here. So quite interesting to observe that this is 10 years data that we notice. Do you notice? Can you? Okay, we observe that in 2021, the Indonesia recorded a very steady increasing trend of export. It means that the economy of Indonesia is picking up. Picking up. For example, for this in the recent year 2021. So Indonesia GDP growth is expected to be around 3 to 4%. So it shows a record, and in fact it's quite, even though you notice there's quite a bit volatile there, but we can actually say that in average the Indonesia export is picking up, or in other words we can say that Indonesia economy is picking up, is gradually getting better or progressing well as compared to 2020 due to the COVID. Interesting. Okay, let's have a look on the import. So on the import, this one is a very undeniable fact. How does COVID affect the economy so much? COVID affects Malaysian economy. COVID affects Indonesian economy. Not only that, the world economy. So also the same that Indonesia records an increasing trend of import. However, the pattern is quite more volatile than export. So at glance, even though it's not statistically proven, but we can tell that the export in Indonesia is progressing well. So, but just to remember, whatever that we are doing here is based on descriptive. It's not, we cannot say that for sure. We cannot say that it is proven. It's just that based on descriptive. Let's have a look on the trade balance. Okay, so the peach color here shows the deficit, and this one is so you see that as what we suspect when we compare the export and import of Indonesia, the export is progressing better than we see that Indonesia has recorded a trade surplus throughout the years of 2021. With this kind of pattern, inshallah, Indonesia will progressing well and picking up. Then the aim to reach this economic growth at 7%, inshallah, it can be realized. If it's not this year, 2021, which is already end of 2021, inshallah, next year. Let's pray together. All right. Okay. What we have done on this flow of goods and services, which is on the NX. So next, I would like to bring you to about the same, but just that we change instead of goods and services to capital. Dr. Dimas, can you hear me? Because it is raining very heavy here.
Yes, I can hear you, Prof.
Okay, we continue. So next is on the flow of capital. So we have this flow of the goods and services. Now we are referring to the capital, which is also the international market. But this one involves this capital. So we have we have capital outflow and we have capital inflow. So outflow, focus on this. So we have domestic purchase of foreign assets and foreigner purchase of domestic asset. For example, what does it mean? It means that the first one, like for example, Indonesian firm Indonesian or Indonesian or individuals that purchase foreign assets in other countries. So or minus Japanese example, Japanese purchase the domestic asset in Indonesia. So if we minus it, it will become that will be our net capital outflow.
Oh no, yang kurang-kurang.
Okay, all right. So NCO is also called net foreign investment. So under this NCO, we have two types. One is, I think this one you are quite familiar, FDI. And second one is FPI. So we have foreign direct and we have foreign portfolio. Foreign direct is very straightforward. So if Toyota or Dell, Toyota from Japan and Dell from the US decides to open up a company in Indonesia, that one is already considered as FDI, foreign direct investment. And for foreign, but this FDI can be vice versa. It can also be this Indonesian company open up a branch or open up a new company in other countries. Okay, but that one is outflow. Or if it's coming in, then we become and then it will become inflow. Then second, we have portfolio, whereby they are not opening up, but they are buying our shares, the shares of the local firms. What else do we have here? Okay, example. I don't need to go to Moscow. Example, McDonald's opens a fast food outlet in Indonesia. So that can already become FDI. FPI, domestic resident purchase foreign stock, means that we buy stocks or bonds. This considered as investment, but this is falls under foreign portfolio investment. All right. So we have one on the NX. Now we have on NCO. So under the NCO, if the net capital outflow more than zero, we call that outflow, and less than zero inflow. This one, it means that the foreign purchase our domestic asset is higher. So now what we would like to do now, we need to link. We need to link between NX and NCO with this identity, with this accounting identity, that our next export equal to net capital outflow based on this. Okay. So our NCO is equal to NX. Net capital flow equal to NX. For example, this is when a foreigner purchase a good from Indonesia. So when foreigner purchase a good from Indonesia, so the Indonesia export will increase and NX will increase. So when it happens, so the foreigner pays with their currency or assets. So in that case, inflow of capital into Indonesia, into Indonesian economy. That will be in the case of inflow. Next, what if Indonesian purchase foreign good? So import will increase. So when import increase, NX will fall. In that case, Indonesian buy or pays with the rupiah. So now the rupiah outflow go out from the exit the Indonesia economy to the other market that we are purchasing. So in that case, our NCO falls. In this case, we call outflow. Okay. Okay. What else do we have here? All right. So what we have there is on the foreign market. One is on the NCO, and another one is on the foreign capital, which is one is NX, export and import, and another one is NCO, which is on the capital. So let me just continue a bit before we stop. Continue with another elements that very important for this macroeconomic or the open economic concept, which is the theory of the exchange rate. So it's quite detailed here, but basically, I think all of you understands or knows what does it mean with exchange rate. So exchange rate, when we want to purchase good from other country. What if we want to purchase good in our country, our own country? We want to buy goods in Indonesia. we are Malaysian, we want to buy goods in Malaysia. That one doesn't need exchange rate. Yeah, that one just need the price of the goods, only that. But once it involve other countries, then we use exchange rate. But there are some issues. For example, if you are familiar or if you come across with on this on the for example Bolivia economy. Bolivia economy is not doing very well. Apart from that, we also have Venezuela. You can read more on that. That is what are the countries in the Latin America are facing. But this one just to give you an example. For example, Bolivia country, they have their own currency, what we call as Bolivar, if I'm not mistaken. So say that you want to buy, just assume. Remember, economics always full with assumptions. So we just assume that we want to buy goods from Bolivia. Okay, but the thing is, we do not recognize Bolivar as our currency. Means that we do not recognize. Do not recognize means the country do not recognize. So in that case, we have to use the most popular or the one that widely used. The currency that is widely used in the international market, that will be US dollar. So what we happen with is, if Indonesians wants to buy good from Bolivia, so rupiah need to be converted to US dollar need to be converted to Bolivar, and vice versa. But this is theoretically only. You know why? Because Bolivar is also not accepted in the country. So this is example of the collapse of the economy. It's very interesting if you read more on this, if you're interested on the issues, especially on these issues of governance, the bankruptcy of the country, that kind of stories. The one that we always discuss in the classroom is normally the mainstream. But the rest, actually, there are some isolated cases that whereby quite interesting. Okay, what's next do we have here? I think you understand already on the concept of exchange rate. So under this exchange rate, we have two, nominal and also real. Nominal is when you Google, when you type www.xe then .xe.com, then you get the nominal. For example, the nominal exchange rate as of today. Okay, for example, 10,000, 100,000 rupiah equivalents to about $7 US. This is a nominal. If you Google tomorrow or next week, the figure would be different, because this nominal is as it is or at present. That is nominal. That I may have $1 US today, and this I may have $10 US today, which equivalents to that certain amount. But if it's next week or the next year and so on, the figure or the value might be different. That one is what we call as nominal. Okay, and this is on the real exchange rate. On the real exchange rate, of course, we have to, as usual, because you are economic students, so there's a formula involved in order for us to do the conversion to get the real exchange rate. This is a formula involved. We have E stands for exchange rate, times with P star, times with P, the price of the other country, and divide by P star. So let's have a look on the Indonesia real exchange rate. So relatively to the previous years, this is based on 10 years, I think 20 years. So if you notice, real exchange rate for Indonesia has been at the lower as compared to the earlier years. Okay, so the real exchange rate for Indonesia is, of course, there's a trend of up, down, but basically it's quite relatively it's lower than before. This shows what? This shows that Indonesia price and good in Indonesia is cheaper than the previous years. So it shows a good, not, but of course that is not absolute indicator. We can see this ups and down. Remember, when you come across this kind of diagram or pattern, you can observe the ups and downs. But being an economic student, you must be able to analyze it well. But for the purpose of the class, and also if it's theory or principles, then perhaps the understanding of the pattern is sufficient. But let's add a bit more on the analysis. Analysis means that you can analyze what happened throughout the years. Especially if you intend to further your study, that will be better if you can research it more. Okay, I do not want to go to this, but these are the formula involved. It means that in order for us to get this, to calculate or to compute the real exchange rate, there is a formula involved there. Okay, what time is now? So what do we have? Okay, this one. Okay, I think I need to share with you on the terms that we use for the exchange rate. That is depreciation and appreciation. Then if we say that this currency is depreciate, then we know that it shows that the currency is weak, and we say weaker. And if we say the currency is or appreciate, then we say the country is stronger, a strong currency. So this would be the examples. Example when the exchange rate increase and so on. So the term used is appreciate and also depreciate. Let me share with you another theory. So I think I have few theories already on the open economy, the basic concept of macroeconomy or the open economy. One is on the circular flow, on the open and close. Then second on the NCO and also NX. And the third one on the exchange rate. And the fourth one is on the purchasing power parity. Okay, purchasing power parity is another theory. And this theory postulate that any given currency should be able to buy the same quantity of goods. But remember, this is theory. If you ask me whether this is whether there are limitations, of course there are limitations. You see, sometimes this theory are the most idealistic. It's idealistic, but it's not realistic. Some theories can be idealistic, but not realistic. Idealistic just to serve as the benchmark, just to guide us. On what should we achieve. So this purchasing power theory use this based on this law of one price, that they say that if it's the same good, it should be offered at the same, one price taking into account the exchange rate. And I think it's the biggest or the most famous index for this law of one price is Big Mac's index. This Big Mac index is very famous or made famous by the economists. So you see, the one Big Mac can cost very expensive to that country, but it will be quite cheap in other country. So I think the theories that I have shared with you, I think that will be sufficient on the to give introductions or overview on the basic on the open economy concepts. Thank you very much for listening. Over to you, Dr. Dimas.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rosa, for your enlightening presentations. Dear students and friends, if you notice from Prof. Rosa's presentation just now, actually she explained about how the open economy here will create a balance, in terms of trade accounts, and capital accounts, and trade account and capital account here will be used in order to calculate the current account actually. And this current account, whether in the form of trade or in the form of a capital account, it need the usage of the exchange rate, whether in the form of real or in the form of nominals. So actually the topic of open economy is very interesting because this open economy actually will inform you about to what extent the power of the one particular country to another country, in particular if they are going to export or import either good or services, capital, inflow or outflow, and others. And at the end of the day, if a particular country cannot control this capital trade or current account, it will create any shocks to the country itself, whether in the form of currency or in the form of economy per se. Therefore, if you look at students from history of the current crisis or the last crisis in 1998, in 2008, and other currency crisis or banking crisis. So initially, this crisis is triggered by the currency, by the international environments, or we may say as exogenous shocks, exogenous shocks. So from Prof. Rosa's presentation, actually, you will know the interactions between the capital account, trade account, exchange rate, and others. So, Prof, I would like to invite now the students or any other colleagues here who are attending the discussions. Maybe you have any comment, feedbacks, or maybe any other you want to share your experience, perhaps in the form of open economy. Okay, please, Brother Abdi Hakim, are you there? I have one student, Prof, here from Africa. So, Brother Abdi Hakim. So he is full-time student that's studying at our programs from Gambia. Brother Abdi Hakim, are you there?
Yes,
sir.
He's the undergraduate student?
Yeah. Yes, he is undergraduate student, still first semester. He got full scholarship from our university to study at international programs. Okay, Abdi Hakim, could you set the camera on, and I need your feedbacks, perhaps. You need maybe you have some comments regarding with Prof. Rosa's presentation just now. Please, Abdi Hakim.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. If your
Yes,
internet is not that stable, maybe you can just share your thought, please.
Okay, Dr. Dimas. Okay, while we are waiting for the questions from the students, it's very interesting to know that the UMY they provide scholarships for these students.
Yes, Prof.
You get the grant for? Are you getting that from government, or do you have any special source? Because it's good, right? You know that.
Yeah, you see, Prof, for your information that every year, because UMY right now, Prof, wanted to be world-class university, and based on the QS ranking, we are in 500 right now in Asia, and the university tries to be world-class in the next 5 years. So we need more international students, isn't it, to come into university? So therefore, every year.
Yes,
every
perhaps
year
we can also have
scholarship.
So we on not only for undergraduate, I suppose, it's also for postgraduate.
Yes, Prof. So therefore, Prof, every year we receive 40 students, Prof, under our scholarship programs. So the scholarship, the source is coming from university, Prof, not other sources, because we are private university, you see.
Yeah, I know.
We are private university, so we give them full scholarship, including the stipends, living costs, and others, either from bachelor, master, or PhD program. So the applicants more than 400 every year, but we also receive maximum 40 to 50 students. And this year we receive from around 30 universities, 30 countries around the world.
That's how you mentioned
studying.
networking, right? Okay, I understand. I think that can be one of our strategy to be taken as well. I think to position ourselves to become visible at a global ranking, right? Somehow that's also needed.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, thank you for that sharing, Dr. Dimas. So in total,
yes, Prof. Welcome.
Under this undergraduate?
Yes, Prof. Undergraduate, yeah. Okay, Abdul Hakim, are you still there? Do you have any comments or questions? Please, most welcome.
Okay. I want to ask the professor for one question about as she said, some countries they use economic clause for example, Brazil.
Okay.
So the countries used that policy. Can you tell us the advantages and disadvantages of closed economy
All right.
or economic close?
Okay. Thank you, Abdul Hakim.
Yes, Prof.
How old are you, Abdul Hakim? He must be very young.
How maybe I'm old.
How old are you?
23. 23.
23.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. All right. So thank you, Abdul Hakim, for the questions. I think basically what my sharing is basically on the theories, but then we relate on some current issues. I think when I cited on Brazil is said as the closed economy, but in actual fact it's not lah. Of course, it's not lah. We have a World Cup there. We have all these Brazil top players. So definitely Brazil is not a closed economy. It's just that based on the trade values, Brazil has the least trade value with other countries. As according to the figures, I think that figures is taken from the trading economies. So, but Abdul Hakim, Brazil is not closed economy. It's just that based on the figures, it is said as closed economy because it has the least trade deals. But if you ask me whether what is the advantage of become closed, then let me tell you theoretically, because as far as I'm concerned, if you ask me, I cannot name any country that is practicing closed economy unless Dr. Nimas happens to know one. Maybe Dr. Nimas also can share. But let me tell you, during the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008 that was started in the US, it doesn't, our distance from US, Indonesia distance from US is very far. Malaysia distance also very far. By right, it should not affect us. Unlike our Asian financial crisis 97-98, because we are regional. That's why it's called as Asian financial crisis. That crisis is contagious. It started like what Dr. Dimas mentioned. Dr. Dimas actually wanted to say on the money speculator, kan? How they speculate the Thai baht, right, until the Thai baht collapsed in 1997. But that started in the Thailand, but it contagious. It affects Malaysia, it affects Indonesia, and it affects very bad. Kan Indonesia, Malaysia, we record negative, Dr. Dimas, bukannya negative 2, negative like for Malaysia, negative 12, negative 15. It affects us a lot, but that one is clear cut because we are neighboring countries. Of course, if it's neighboring countries, as if we are sibling, if what happened to our brother, our sister, that will definitely affect us. But in the case of subprime mortgage crisis, it affects most of the developing countries. You know why? Because this developing country, the US is one of the largest trading partner. That's why it affects us due to the globalization. But Abdul Hakim, if I am a country, a closed economy, I do not have relation with US. I do not buy US good. I do not eat KFC. I do not eat McD. I do not buy Adidas good. What happened to US? Stay in the US. What happens to the US? What happens whether they are fighting, whether they are terrorizing? What happened to the US? We stay in the US. It will not affect me. You know why? Because we are close. Remember, we are close economy. I do not assert that advantage is one of the advantage is what we call as this actually the things that the anti-globalization, kan, Dr. Dimas, now they are moving towards anti-globalization. Last time it was like globalization, but now they reverse that. So that would be the advantage of having closed economy, but the disadvantage of being a closed economy that will be much more that the business is not very competitive. We do not have more choices of goods and services. So but it is good if you can start with the theory say this, but in reality it doesn't happen that way. Unless Hakim, you say one country or probably, I think even Gambia also has trade deal with other countries. Correct, Abdul Hakim? Like when you went to Indonesia, that shows that you already have the flow. the flow from Gambia to Indonesia, it means it already become open economy. Unless Abdul Hakim, you stay in Gambia, you get married in Gambia, you study in Gambia, even you end our life also in Gambia. So it means that's closed economy. Abdul Hakim, are you okay with that? That's very straightforward, right?
Yeah.
So
Understand.
now
Thank you
you
so
are now already in the international market, Abdul Hakim.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Abdul Hakim.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Rosa. So actually, Brother Hakim, we cannot avoid international transaction or international trade, because if you remember that we have a comparative advantage and we have competitive advantage. So every country cannot fulfill their own needs. Yeah, look like you lah. Yeah, you study here in Indonesia. It means that you feel that Indonesia can fulfill your needs. Yeah. Compared to your country, so it means that you need others, yeah, in order to lift up your standard, improve your standards. So basically, the open economy basically is not political per se or just economic per se, but we need to improve our quality of life, whereby one country with another country, they are fulfilling each other, they are complementing each other. Look like Rosa, Prof. Rosa and I, so we are collaborating now, because I'm feeling that Prof. Rosa can help me, and also Prof. Rosa feel that UMY also can help her in order to make us benefited each other. So I think we cannot avoid international community of the Hakim. And for those who are still close, I think the degree of closeness is not that extreme. Yeah, they are still opening the door, yeah, but not that open. Yeah, but not closely, but not close at all. I think we cannot. I don't get any information.
Dr. Dimas, you'll be very good if you can investigate
the country that close
how
entirely. Yeah.
How open it should be. We cannot be so open also, right? We understand there's a lot of disadvantages of globalization. So perhaps we can unless you can suggest what are the methods available to mention how close it should be, or maybe in this context how open we should be. We cannot be so open.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Very, again, a very interesting topic for research, professors. So
but that kind of topic, if we can measure, if you said Dr. Dimas, you can be measured. Okay, then the topic is on. But if you say very difficult to measure, then we cannot do.
Okay, doctor. Okay, so I will invite also one another students before we end, because Prof. Rosa, I guess she has another schedule. Yeah, so maybe I'll invite one another question from women perhaps. I want to invite one woman from UMY, Sister Sania. Sania, Oriska Sania, are you there, sister? Sister Sania, are you with us? I guess yes, that you will have a question. Okay, please, if you have any internet barrier, don't worry, you just asking us without opening the screen. But if you can, better. Please discuss, Sania. Hello, Rizka, are you there? Yes.
So my question is, how do we develop our economic sector like modern economics like China today, sir? Because in my opinion, Indonesian economy not
developed. Is that so?
Not Indonesian economy not experiencing increase every year. So how we can handle this problem? How we can learn from China's country and decade it to our country?
Okay, thank you very much, Rizka. Rizka's question is very something that all the students should think of, that Indonesian students, Malaysian students should think of. In 1990s, that we referring to Malaysia and Indonesia because we are Nusantara neighboring countries, so somehow we imitate or we copy the same patterns of trade and so on. In 90s, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore, Taiwan, and also South Korea, we are at the same level, same par. We are the same. 1990s. Then throughout the years, when Rizka mentioned on China, Rizka can also refer to Singapore. You can also refer to Singapore, or you can refer also to South Korea, because we were at the same level with this country. China is, at that time, China was not in the picture because China was quite close economy, means that no much trade deals. So when we explain on this concept, what we call, I would like to introduce you to this concept, what we call as middle income trap. Middle income trap. Malaysia, Indonesia, we have been middle income country, same with South Korea, same with Taiwan, same with Singapore. From 1980s, from 1990s, we have been the same level, what we call as middle income. Developing countries normally is referred as middle income. The developed country normally is referred as high income countries. Okay, so I hope we start from there. We start from there. The analogy is we start from there. We were the same level with Singapore. We were the same level with Taiwan and also South Korea. I do not want to put China into the picture because we are not sharing the same, what we call there's so many heterogeneous aspects. So let's focus on our countries, our neighboring countries. But you see what happened? What happened to Singapore? What happened to Singapore means, where is Singapore now? Where is South Korea now? Where is Taiwan now? Or specifically, we take Singapore. Singapore has become developed countries. What went wrong here? What went wrong here? Those are very. I think that one is subject to a lot of discussion. But let us just simplify it. It means that we, Indonesia, Malaysia, we are trapped. We are trapped as middle income country. We are middle income country since day one, since you were born. I think you are very young, you were born. We were middle income countries. Now you enter university as the first year student. We are still middle income countries. Whereas others who were middle income countries, they already become high income countries. So that one we call middle income trap. So how do we go from here? That's the questions. How do we go from here? And plus, with the COVID-19 pandemic, which affects the whole economy, and of course affect Indonesia. We record negative growth. Dr. Dimas, Malaysia, Singapore. It's just that we start to climbing up. And but I noticed based on a very glass research, at least Indonesia debt to GDP, your debt to GDP ratio is 30% plus, right? For Malaysia, we record almost 70% already, Dr. Dimas. It means that now we are incurring more debts to the deficits, our fiscal. But of course that cannot be the single indicator. So if Rizka is asking what should we do, that one very difficult to answer as lecturers, as the seniors lecturers in economics. Yes, we can tell you a lot of what theories say. Theories say, please increase more FDI, please give more money, increase the wages of the populations, give more, increase the high wages. We can say a lot of things based on theory. FDI needs to be increased. I think FDI Indonesia, based on the list of the FDI in Asian, Indonesia received the, I think, second largest. Yes, second largest. The largest country that received FDI is Singapore. Why Singapore? Second one is Indonesia. Then, very sad, but I think Dr. Dimas, you know the truth also, you know the statistic. Malaysia, that's supposed to be one of the attractive FDI destination. We were at the 5th rank, behind Vietnam, behind Thailand, of course, behind Indonesia as well. So one of the most important one is definitely FDI. Not only that, apart from this, there are many other indicators. Business competitiveness index. Singapore has the highest or at the first rank of business competitiveness index. Happiness index, also one of the factor. There's a lot of index actually, but Rizka, if you ask me, then if we have the channel, then we tell our government, please focus more on FDI. Do something, provide incentive, focus more on FDI. First, the second one, most of the establishment, most of the companies, most of the enterprises in Malaysia and also Indonesia, most of the enterprises are small, medium enterprises. For example, in Malaysia, I think about the similar figure in Indonesia. 80% of the total companies in Malaysia, I think also the same with Indonesia, are small, medium enterprises. What does it mean? It means that if we can actually help them, assist them, we can actually provide the supply the market, supply the goods and services to the domestic. We do not depend to others. So if you ask me, this would be the two things that government should consider. One is the SME due to the numbers of establishment and due to the potentials that SME provides. And SME is the best tools. If we have any crisis started in US or in China, SME can become the cushion. They can cushion us from the attack, from the effects of the crisis. And the second one is on the FDI. And definitely Malaysia needs to do a lot of things, Dr. Dimas, to improve our FDI. The lowest this year, the 5th rank behind Vietnam. Can you just imagine Vietnam recovered from this civil war, kan? Like not so many years ago, right? But they are quite competitive, Vietnam. So Rizka, the most important thing, we, the citizens of Indonesia, or we, the citizens of Malaysia, we need to do our part. We need to do our part. Then government also need to do their part. But everyone has to do their part in order for us to realize that to become a developed country, inshallah. 2020 for Malaysia, I think Indonesia also the same, right? 2030, right? Is that the target to become developed countries?
2045.
2045. For Malaysia is 20. Last time it used to be 2020. Lepas tu dia buat jadi 2030. So we realize. So insyaAllah, Dr. Dimas. So over to you, Dr. Dimas.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rosa. I think, Sister Sania, your question is very strategic and important. And we need to learn from Malaysia, actually, how they developed the economy since 1957. I think the power of economy to develop is how, to what extent the country is well planned. I wrote a short article when I was in PhD last 10 years about the Malaysian plan, actually. So it is I think this the strength of Malaysia. Since independent until now, Malaysia consistently implementing the Malaysian plan. Right now, if not mistaken, is 13 or 14 Malaysian plan. Yeah, so every 5 years, Malaysia develop continuously and under designed, and always continued. Not even though the government changed in terms of the prime minister, but the plan of the development still go on. I think the continuation of the development processes is the main point. How a particular country is consistently develop its economy and others. In contrast, Prof. Indonesia, since our independence, we are planning to have this one since 1968, and we stopped in 1998 when Asia financial crisis happens. So we stopped until 7 Indonesian plan. So we have also plans and under our national development agenda, but unfortunately 1998 stopped, and after that, once the presidents changed and the plan also changed, Yeah, so there's no any continuation in terms of the development process. So the movement towards Indonesia, golden Indonesia, we must say, is quite struggles until now. Unless we go back to the plan, actually step by step planning, 5 years until maybe, I don't know, 2030 or 2045, but there's no any well plan so far. Yeah? Unless Malaysia, I know that since Prime Minister Najib in office, he said Malaysian to be developed nation by 2020, 10 years ago. But I don't know, right now, because the political turbulence in Malaysia happening, they set back, 10 years later, to 2030. Yeah. Okay, Prof. Rosa and students.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, please, Prof.
No worries. Yes, I think I think on the term of this middle income trap, we are afraid that we are going to be trapped forever as the middle income country. Despite that we referring to Malaysia and Indonesia, we are quite rich in terms of resources, right? But inshallah, the planning should be there, inshallah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dimas.
Okay. Last but not least, I just want to show you, dear sisters and brothers, this the money that Prof. Rosas mentioned previously. Prof, can you see here, Prof?
Yes.
So here is the money of Zimbabwe. Yeah. So I found this money 10 years ago when I was in Bahrain. So I found this money. This money was printed by Zimbabwe in 2004, and this money is the effect of the very terrible inflations at the moment, whereby you can see, dear sisters and brothers, that the zeros is 20, actually 12.
Yes, you are rich,
Dr.
Dimas, 10 billion.
Yeah, it is 10 billions. Sorry, 10 trillions. $10 trillion. Yeah. So it happens indeed in Zimbabwe when they had a very terrible inflation rate, almost 1,000% at the moment. So if you want to go to the market to purchase something, you have to carry on by using motorcycle, or maybe because the money that they have to pay very many at the moment. And if you convert, Prof, this one into dollars, it only get around $15. 15. Yeah, at the moment. So how was terrible the inflation rate in the Zimbabwe at the moment? And Prof. Rosa in the beginning of the presentation mentioned that the Bolivar also the same case of this one. So this is an example how bad the economy if the government fail to manage. So the inflation will be very high and the impact to the nominal exchange rate. So this money is useless. Nobody wants to receive this money. Yeah. Even if Prof. Rosa, I give Prof. Rosa this money, maybe Prof. Rosa may be rejected. Yeah, because
by the way, now I'm
Yeah.
curious, where do you get the money from? From Bahrain? Someone gave it to you? Or?
No, at the moment, Prof, I went to Bahrain for attending international conference.
Okay.
And when the conference finished, so I go around, I went around to the markets, nearby the Bahrain, and accidentally I found this money. So I purchased this money just for the purpose of lecture.
Souvenir.
Souvenir. Yes. Just to show to the student, Prof, that inflation exists and happens. Yeah, this is the proof. Like that, Prof.
True. I'm glad to see that you have.
Okay, dear student and Prof. Okay, Prof and dear students, I guess that today's discussion is very fruitful and very enlightening. Prof. Rosa's presentation was very great, and then she gave us many information, understanding how actually the open economy exists and the effect of open economy to the economy overall, and how we improve our economy by looking at the export, import, inflows, outflows, and others. But importantly is we are a student of economics. We have to be able to analyze actually to what extent this import, export, inflow, outflow are important and beneficial to the country. So we cannot go to the extreme positions. yeah, to open or to close, but we have to be in middle. In Arabic, we call wasatiyah. Yeah, wasatiyah, in the middle positions. Yeah, not in the
Moderate.
extreme position. Moderate, yes, moderate. So the moderate here, Prof, basically refers to the optimal position.
Yeah, I like that word. Okay, that's why Dr. Dimas, you have not responded to my question in the WhatsApp letter. You have to respond
I'm still thinking, Prof.
because you sparked my interest on the optimal level. I think that can become a venture on that research.
Okay,
Inshallah.
Prof. Okay, Prof. I'll respond. Soon, Prof. Okay, I think that's all for a while, dear students and other colleagues. On the behalf of Economics Department, UMY, I would like to express again thanks to Prof. Rosa. Prof. Rosa, dear student, is a dean actually right now. Yeah, the dean of Faculty of Economic and Business UNIMAS. So if you want to pursue your master, PhD, so I think Prof. Rosa is the right person to be asking in terms of the advisors. Yeah, what the program offered in UNIMAS. Yeah, I think very great. And someday, hopefully, you and I can visit Prof. Rosa's office. Yeah, in Sarawak. In fact, that I never go to Sarawak, Prof, during my study in Malaysia.
Even though you were in Malaysia for 10 years.
Because Sarawak and Peninsula seems to be different country.
Yes, we are at the Borneo Island.
Yeah, Borneo Islands. And if you go to Peninsula, you have to use passport, isn't it, Prof? Isn't right? Is this right?
Correct.
Yeah, seems to be. Yeah, so even though Prof. Rosas is Malaysian and living in Sarawak, but if she want to enter Peninsula, the mainland of Malaysia, she must use passport, not ID. Is it right, Prof?
Yes, and we also have to apply for the working permit.
Look like foreigner.
Yes, sort of working permit. But
yeah.
I think that goes back to this during when they established in Malaysia. So we're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay with that. All right.
Okay, Prof. With that, thank you very much again. Stay safe and healthy, Prof. There, and send our regards to your colleagues and friends at UNIMAS. And inshallah, next time we will invite you again. And also, we most welcome to have more collaboration between UNIMAS and UMY. Inshallah. We end this session by reciting Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you, Prof. Thank you all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you, sir.